Good evening to all the participants. I, Sandeep Kumar Sharma, on behalf of the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India, extend a very warm welcome to all of you on today's webinar on transfer pricing litigation, planning and management. Transfer pricing continue to be one of the most dynamic and litigated area of international taxation, with increasing cross-border transactions and evolving regulatory expectations. Effective planning and management of transfer pricing dispute have become crucial for tax professionals and tax business alike. We are privileged to have with us distinguished leader of profession and eminent faculty who will guide us through this webinar today. It's now time to introduce C. Vishnu Kumar Agarwal sir for opening remarks. Sir is Central Council member of the Institute and serving as chairman of peer review board and vice chairman of this committee also. Sir has more than 20 years of experience in the field of income tax, search and seizure, benami and black money proceedings, ITAT proceedings, and income tax litigation. We are delighted to have you with us, sir, today.
Thank you,
Sir, may I
Sandeep ji.
request you to kindly address the gathering.
Thank you, Sandeep ji,
Thank
our
you, sir.
moderator from Jaipur, and Hariom Jindal ji from Delhi, today's speaker. In absentia, our Honorable Central Council member Satish Gupta ji and the chairman of this committee, Rohit ji and Prachi ji from our committee and doing very hard work. Today's topic discussing by our speaker Hariom Jindal ji, transfer pricing, litigation, planning and management. Friends, transfer pricing, when names comes either for the domestic or from internationally, always litigations start whether the transaction is arm length or not. So Hariom Jindal ji is the expert and he has contributed so many publications in our committee also, International Taxation Committee. So I'm sure today Hariom Jindal ji will deliberate and crystal clear about the fundamental of the subject. Friends, I'm not touching the particular subject because our expert is here. Friends, just I'm highlighting the 3-4 initiatives taken by our committee. Friends, we are coming out with the UK certification course for benefit of my each and every member, because so many demand has came after we have done the US certificate course and diploma course and Middle East course. So the demand has came for the UK certification course, and we have already go through each and every content of the UK certification course, and very soon we will launch this particular course. Friends, every Wednesday we are doing this particular webinar from our committee for benefit of my each and every member. My request to each one of you to block your calendar for this particular timing on every Wednesday, because we are calling expert and best to best faculty from our country. Friends, this particular year, the council has taken the decision that any one of the partner in chartered accountant firm can sign only 60 tax audit report. Friends, if there are 3 partners in any of the firm, so one partner can sign only 60 tax audit report. Before 1/4/2026, it was the rule that any one partner can sign on behalf of the another partner the tax audit report. Friends, from 1/4/2026, the council has changed this particular rule on only one partner can sign only 60 tax audit report. Friends, the last year we have deferred for the new format for the financial for the non-corporate SEC, and from this year it is the compulsory from the threshold limit of the 5 crore of the rupees. So whenever you prepare the financial of the non-corporate SEC, please prepare in the new financial format. Friends, so many I'm also chairman of the peer review board, and up to 31st December 2026, if your partner is having 3 and more than 3 partners, friends, your firm must be gone through under the peer review. And if you are the auditor of any listed company, any subsidiary company, and any holding company of that listed company, friends, and if you are the auditor of the more than 1,000 crore turnover of the company and more than 500 crore of the net worth of that particular company, friends, your your company must, your firm must be gone through from the peer review. This particular year, from the bank branch audit, we is exempted to my each and every firm. Friends, my request to each one of you, if you are doing the bank branch audit of and a bank branch audit and your firm has not done the peer review, my request to you, up to December 2026, you go through with the peer review, and you take the certificate from the peer review board. Friends, I will not take much of the time, because today we have called Hariom Jindal ji as an expert faculty on the transfer pricing, and so many litigation has came, and so many I've argued the case before the ITAT also, in which we have seen that so many litigation has came on the transfer pricing focus. So I will not take much of the time, and my best wishes with you. And friends, I again request to each one of you, if you want to also become a faculty and you also want to become to contribute to the International Taxation Committee, friend, just send one mail to the International Tax Committee that you want to contribute on this topic, and you also want to become a faculty coordinator. Friends, we will give chance to you, because this forum is open for all of us. With these words, I thanks to each one of you and our Sandeep Sarmaji for moderating this particular session and sparing your valuable time, and my heartful thanks to Hariom Jindalji also for giving your valuable time, sir. Thank you, friends.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your insightful opening remark. Thank you, sir. Sir, now it's time to introduce C. हरिओम अग्रवाल, हरिओम जिंदल सर. इनका इंट्रोडक्शन क्या कर रहा हूँ, मेरी एज से ज्यादा तो इनका एक्सपीरियंस है सर का, पर फिर भी he is a qualified chartered accountant and having more than 35 years of experience in income tax and international taxation and transfer pricing. Sir also done certificate course on international tax in 2009. He has written various books on income tax and transfer pricing. He is regular speaker in conference organized by International Tax Committee and Committee of ICI and NIRC. He is also regular speaker on transfer pricing for Indian income tax official and Mauritius tax revenue officers. Alongside his advisory practice, he is an active trainer and speaker at ICA and other professional firms, known for delivering practical and insightful sessions on international tax and transfer pricing. We are indeed fortunate to have him with us today to share his insights on transfer pricing litigation, planning and management. Sir, on behalf of all the participants, I extend a very warm welcome of you and request you to kindly take over the session.
Good evening, friends, and thank you, Sandeep ji, Satish ji, Vishnu Kumar ji, and Prachi ji and Rohit ji. First of all, thanks for inviting me for my deliberation on this very complex subject. I hope my voice is clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Clear.
okay. Thank you. So, actually, this subject is very complex, and I must say, I presume that most of the listener to this topic is have basic knowledge of transfer pricing, because today I'm going to discuss some intermediate to advanced level topics in this, because this is a pure practitioner area. Let first I start share my PPT is visible, I think now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, the subject itself tell that transfer pricing, litigation, planning and management. So, planning and management in every field is very important, whether it is tax practice, whether it is individual lifestyle or anything else. I will start with a small story which I have seen. What is the importance of planning and management? Recently, I have to visit, say, after the Ayodhya, and every person is expecting that after this mandir was built, that earliest possible he have to visit. So I was also thinking that I should visit Ayodhya for Ram Lala Darshan. Then I discuss with my friends किस टाइम जाना चाहिए, कब जाना चाहिए, क्या करना चाहिए. After discussion, then I came to know that the best time to go is to avoid weekend, avoid holiday. Second, it's always better to do darshan at evening or early morning. I adopted both this opinion, and I stay there one night. I visited only in the evening. I gone on Thursday and came back on Friday. And when I visited the mandir after 5 o'clock, there was nothing between me and Ramlala. There was hardly any gathering. So I plan the whole visit in such a manner that I face no difficulty at all. But on the other part, when I eat foods there, I have not taken, I have not planned very well at that time. I have taken street foods, I have taken lassi, I have taken kachori. So I fall sick. Then after coming back to Delhi, I tried self medication, but I don't recover. Then I went to a doctor. He asked me how many days you are feeling this problem. I say since 7 days. Then he asked why you come to after 7 days. So I said that I am self-medication. So then he advised me don't do self-medication on such a complex issues. And he advised me not to eat milk or milk foods when outside. Don't take cold things and avoids talawa. Since then, I follow this advice. The thing is, if you plan well, then you can be successful in any field of life, whether it is tax management, tax planning. Planning and management is very important subject. And transfer pricing is no exception to that one. Today, though we have a very long list of subjects on litigation in transfer pricing, and I will try my best to cover most of these one. And I must say that this my presentation is totally based on decided case law. There is nothing subjective in this case. But I must confess that if we are fortunate enough that any person who can research, he will certainly got his case of his choice on any subject. There are favorable cases, there are against cases. And most of the time it's the facts which determine which case is favorable, which is not. We cannot generalize this is a against case, this is a case against us, this is a case in favor us. Most of the time, my friends in the department ask me, Mr. Jindal, what is favorable to department? Which case? And I always say nothing is favorable, nothing is against. One case may be favorable in one person, may be against in other person. For example, recently you have heard Nestle ruling of Supreme Court that for most favored nation class, there should be notification. And everyone was feeling this is a totally against ruling against the taxpayer. But recently, I think I see a sky high ruling by the ITATA in which the taxpayer won based on this ruling. The ITATA said when the MLI is not notified based on Nestle ruling, then it cannot be applied. So the same, basically, it's not the ruling. Ruling may be against the taxpayer, may be against the revenue. But it is the ratio. Ratio is not against anyone. Ratio may be applied in different situation and different circumstances, and it can be favorable and it can be against depending on the facts of the case. So we have to see what is the ratio, not the ruling, and what is the facts. That is also most important. And let's start with I think all of my participants now today have basic knowledge. Still, I give brief background of this transfer pricing. Transfer pricing is 5 steps provision. 5 steps. First step, we have to see whether the TP provision are applicable. If yes, then we have to come to second step. We have to do the benchmarking, computational provision, transfer pricing method. After that, there is a procedure of audit and assessment based on filing of the tax return. If there is a adjustment by the tax authority, then there is a dispute resolution mechanism provided in the fourth step. And fifth step is preventive measures like APA and like this. So it's a 5 steps procedure and under the transfer pricing. Today we will discuss mainly the step 3, audit and assessment. What we have to take care when there is a audit or assessment, and what are the options before the taxpayer, and what are the precautions the taxpayer should take during the course of audit and assessment. These are the topic for discussion: burden of proof, compliance, notice to start assessment, Form 3CB filing, AO responsibility and the transfer pricing, when difference can be made to the TPO, procedure and practice before TPO, TPO power, 3 fundamental principles, limitation, very important aspect, dispute resolution panel, power and procedure, CIT, PCIT, power and duties, draft assessment order, TP cases, analysis, controversial issue pending adjudication, SC power, and precedence value of SLP. First, I will start with the TP case analysis because generally I can remember when I start doing CA, everyone said, please read 3 years suggested paper to know which type of cases are which type of case question are given in the examination. Same way, if you understand what is the success mantra before the tax authority, then we can plan, we can take care of those subjects, those issues in a better manner. I have analyzed these TP cases. Approximately out of more than 7,000 published case, not all cases, published case on a reputed website, approximately success ratio of taxpayer is 77%, partly or wholly. And the revenue is 8%. And in 17%, it is remanded. This is, I have not analyzed, this is analysis based on website. There may be slightly variation, small, maybe lesser or more, that may be possible because it's a subjective criteria of the website, but then it's not going to change drastically. So 77% success. Now the question is, what is the success ratio? What is the point which are success? What is the reason of this success? 3 major reasons for success of taxpayer in appellant proceeding under transfer pricing. Number 1, in most of the cases, TPO determine the ALP of the management service, royalty, AMP. If you are in practice in transfer pricing, you will see most of the time any payment is made to the related party, particularly for service purpose. He determined that ALP at nil, no service, no benefit, and he determined it nil. This is one of the most litigated area, and chances of success before the appellate authority is very high if documentation and evidence of rendering of services are provided at the appropriate time. I will discuss slightly with the situation also this point. First point is this one. Second point, limitation. If you have follow the current this budget also and this hardly you will see any cases on dispute on merits. More than 70%, 60% cases are based on limitation. Time bar, time bar, time bar. And if you see in this year, in this budget also, there are many retrospective amendments on timelines. We will discuss later on. In many cases, prescribed procedure is not followed, like draft order is not made, either originally, either in remand, either in eligible SSC, or draft order is made in the case of non-eligible SSC. So these are the few points where these are the three main issues. I think out of 100 cases, 80 to 90% case are win by the taxpayer based on only three situation. Now I have discussed this first situation, nil determination, or this one I will discuss further, sir. One of the interesting subject is when the case will be quashed, when the case will be remand back. Generally, if you see, we even we win, and most of the time it is remanded back to the TP or assessing officer. If that is done, again we are back to square zero. So what to do? In case of jurisdictional error, generally assessment is quashed, so no remand back. Limitation error, time bar, quash, no remand back. Procedural error, there may be remand back, there may be quashed. Like in this case, Vivek Jaising as it was quashed, but it depends on the facts and circumstances. It may be quashed or it may not be quashed. I will like to show something other this one. Situation one. When a case is gone to appellant authority, there can be three situations. And based on those situations, case may be remand back, case may be quashed. Situation one. Which is situation one. If the SSC has benchmarked the transaction by following one of the any of the recognized method and has also furnished all the documentary evidence for computation of LP. However, the tax authority must recite the same without any cognizable reason and determine the LP on ad hoc manner. Like nil determination that there is no service, no benefit without doing any homework. If the TPO do such a thing, then most likely that will be the quest. It means the benchmarking done by the SSA will be accepted. There will be no remand back. I have given a few of these cases, and it's depend on you how important, how you benchmark your transaction, how you give all the documents, evidence during the assessment. If you have done your homework, then you will win. If the TPO have done their homework, they can be win. They can also win. So it's the homework, it's the documentation at the time of assessment which is essential so that you can avoid remand back. Situation 2. The SSC has not benchmarked the transaction by any following recognized method and or not furnished all the document. Tax authority benchmark the transaction by following recognized method based on available information. In this situation, it is settled principle that the determination of arm's length price by the TPO should be sustained. That means in this case, situation, the case will go in favor of the revenue because they have not done any homework. Third situation, neither the assassin nor the TPO have done homework. And most likely in this situation, the case will be remanded back. So it's not any state jacket formula that when the case is remand back, when the case will be quest. It's depend how important, how you have present your case during the course of assessment, how evidence you have presented, what benchmarking you have done. It's all depend on your efforts. So jurisdictional error limitation procedure. So this is now we will come to the first topic, burden of proof. Very important because due to burden of proof, there are many things which can goes in favor of taxpayer. First is whether international transaction hai ya nahi hai. Burden is on the revenue. If you say it, if you himself have shown any transaction, international transaction, then it's on you. It's the burden is on you to do the benchmarking. But if you say, if you dispute that there is no international transaction, then the burden of proof is on the revenue. Whether TP applicable, revenue. Transaction at ALP. Whether my PPT is visible or not? Can someone confirm? Oh, sorry. So, oh, I.
Sir, visible नहीं है.
Now visible?
Sir, yes, sir.
Oh, sorry. Due to swifting that PPT, I think it's come out. Okay,
Okay,
sorry.
not an issue.
So, the first topic is burden of proof. Whether the international transaction is there or not, it is on revenue. TP applicable है नहीं है, revenue पे है. Transaction at ALP, if the taxpayer have shown the transaction that it is we have entered into so many transaction of international transaction, then the benchmarking is on the taxpayer, but it can swift. It can swift to revenue also if the revenue dispute that these transactions are not at benchmark is not proper, then it swift to the revenue also. If the taxpayer benchmarking is rejected, revenue have to do the alternate benchmarking. Burden of proof. If undisputed transaction, then the benchmarking have to be done by the taxpayer. And these are some of the situations where that benchmarking done by the taxpayer can be rejected. If it is not as per law, if the proper information and document are not kept, or documents and computation not reliable, or not furnish the required information. In this situation, these are the prescribed situation in which the benchmarking done by the taxpayer can be rejected. But if the benchmarking is rejected, then it doesn't mean that the rejection means total rejection. Revenue authority have to do alternate benchmarking. That was in the previous slide. It is when you accepted there are international transactions, you have to do the benchmarking. But if you dispute any transaction I have not entered into international transaction, then the onus is on the revenue authority to prove that These are the international transactions you have entered into, and these are TP is applicable on you. These are various cases of high courts. Like AMP, there are so many cases. If the TPO is not satisfied with correctness, or where the SSC failed to compute such ALP, it is always the duty of the TPO to find out the ALP of the international transaction. Rejection is not sufficient, have to do the alternate ALP determination by the TPO. Ahmedabad ITT also said the responsibility to determination of LP is shifted to the Revenue Authority. Yes, it's not that the rejection is sufficient, have to do some alternate. In this case, Yahoo software also, it was said by the Honorable ITT that you can ask only those details which are in the public domain. You can't ask anything which is not in the public domain. So this is the burden of proof. It is very important. If you have heard of this AMP transaction on which the department is still struggling, and most of the cases are with the Supreme Court, pending before Supreme Court. And there is not a single success where the SSC have disputed the AMP transaction. It's because of the onus, it's become so difficult for the revenue to come out. Now we come to topic number 2, compliance under transfer pricing. Because what are the compliance, what you have to do that one, how to comply that one, this is very important, because the penalty and penalties are so heavy in transfer pricing, so you can't avoid compliance at right time. You may be aware there are 3 limitation date for filing of ITR, and in the case of transfer pricing is applicable, that was the last one. That was the 30th November. And return have to be filed by 30th November. If there is no TP, then audited case 31st October and remaining 31st July. However, from the tax year 26, 27, 31st August is also in the case of non-audited business SSC. These are the return filing dates. And this is written in response to notice under 148 reassessment and block assessment. Return have to be filed. This is the TP related forms where a person entered into international transaction or SDT liable to file form 3CB or form 88. Compliance date is 3CB 1 month before, that means 31st October. This form 3CA master file part A have to be filed by the due date, but it have to be filed in all cases. Return of income, again, this is 30th November, and 3CAFI safe harbor, then it is also 31st November, 30th November, sorry. These are the few general forms which are applicable to most of the case in terms of pricing. I have not covered master file or C by C or something, because they are so advanced, not relevant for most of the practitioner. So this is compliance date, mainly 30th November is the return filing date, and 31st October is the TP study, 3CB filing date. Now, once you have filed form TP certificate, you have filed ITR, then in most of the cases there is no issue and it is accepted. There is no notice of assessment. There is nothing. But if you have filed tax return, file 3CB, if the department want to assess the correctness of the benchmarking, want to see the benchmarking, want to see the ALP determination, then the process will start from issue of notice. First thing you see notice under section 143(2) or 278(9) is mandated to start assessment proceeding in regular cases, and also in the case of in case of reassessment. And provided that no notice shall be served on the assessee after the expiry of 3 months from the end of the financial year in which the return is furnished. So, if any, whether it is assessment, reassessment, block assessment, if return is filed in response to any notice or original return file, unless there is a notice under section 143(2), proceeding relating to assessment will not start. If proceeding relating to assessment is not start, there is no TP assessment is possible. So these are the cases of Supreme Court, and now it is almost settled provision, whether assessment, reassessment, or block assessment. Whenever there is a filing of return, after the filing of return, the assessment will start only by issuing notice under 143(2). Without notice, there is cannot be. If any assessment is started without issuing notice, the 143(2), that have to be quashed. This is jurisdictional requirement. This is Supreme Court case. Actually, the department, actually the tax government have come out with 292BB. That if the assessee have participated in the proceeding, it shall be deemed that any notice which is required to be served upon duly served, and the assessee would be precluded from taking an objection that the notice was not served upon him, not served upon him in time, or served upon him in improper manner. So, quite wide language of this section, but this is not the real picture. Supreme Court have not accepted this one. Now I deal with different situation. First thing is, within 3 months from the end of the financial year in which the return is filed, if notice is not given at all, assessment proceeding will be invalid. Notice is given after the limitation proceeding, assessment proceeding will be invalid again. Notice is given by non-jurisdictional assessing officer, assessment proceedings will still be invalid. Notice is given, but there are some defect in the notice and the assessee have participated in the proceeding, it shall be deemed that any notice which is required to be. This is the gray area where some minor mistake are there in the notice and the assessee have participated within the, in the proceeding, then it may be held that it is not invalid. But they are a very limited area. Otherwise, giving notice is jurisdictional requirement on time. If the notice is not given on time, it is jurisdictional requirement. The assessment have to be quashed, and all the proceeding relating to TP and other assessment will become nullified. These are the cases. Notice issued before, for example, notice issued before filing of return, no use, because the notice have to be issued only after filing the tax return. Then only the assessment will be started. When there is no return, how the notice for can be filed? Notice for or can be issued? No. No issue of notice or issue of notice after the prescription. Thousands of cases. Assessment or notice issued under 143(2) is in the name of non-existent entity. Sometime there is a merger, amalgamation, demerger. So if the notice is issued in the case of non-existent entity, that will be void and the assessment will be nullified. These are the Supreme Court case, and department rely mainly on the Skylight Hospitality LLP case, but even the Supreme Court, in the Supreme Court in Maruti Suzuki distinguished this one, and most of the later cases, Skyline Hospitality was distinct. So non-existent entity name will be invalid notice. This is very important case of Delhi High Court, issue of notice. There is so many permutation combination, like this is very important Delhi High Court case. It in this case it is held mere generation of notice under section 148A on ITBA software cannot in fact or in law constitute issue of notice. It is only upon due dispatch that notice can be said to have been issued. Date of issue of notice is not important. It is the date of signing notice which is important. Hence, where notice was dated 31/3/2021 but has been digitally signed on 1/4/2021, date of notice will be 1/4/2021. Where notice are sent through registered email of the respective assessing officer, though no digital sign, it will be held to be valid. Where notice are duly uploaded on e-filing portal of SSC without any real-time alert, date and time when SSC viewed notice on e-filing portal as recorded in the ITBA portal will be construed as the date of service of notice. Where notice are manually dispatched, date and time when the notice were delivered to post office for dispatch was to be date of issue. Where notice were sent to unrelated email address, date on which notice was first viewed by the SSC on e-filing portal was to be considered. So this is very important, and try to in this dissent the Honorable Court have tried to cover all the permutation and combination in which the date of notice have to be taken. This is very important case of Delhi High Court and followed since in many other cases. These are cases, but I in the beginning I have said, if you do research, you are committed, then you will get any case in your favor also on any topic. These two Karnataka High Court case have held slightly in different manner. In this case, digitally sign on 31, but deliver next day, they say yes, it is fine. Another is signing. If any notice or assessment order is not signed, then that doesn't exist in the eyes of the law. That have no relevance. If I make it, I have made a assessment order, but I have not signed. Without signature, what is the use of the assessment order? What is the use of the notice? Nothing. So signing of still the assessment order is signed. You have seen in the preceding slide. You have also seen that the High Court have showed is it is the signing is important, not the date of preparation. These are the Supreme Court and tribunal cases. So these are notice 143(2) में नोटिस देना चाहिए, साइनिंग होना चाहिए, नाम ठीक होना चाहिए, कब उसकी डेट मानी जाएगी, जो डिफरेंट परमुटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन है वो ऑनरेबल हाई कोर्ट दिल्ली एंड दिस सुप्रीम कोर्ट केस दे हैव decided this case, settled this issue that unless it is signing assessment order, notice have no relevance. Now we come to topic number 3. Forum 3, I have seen there are so many mistakes in 3CB filing. Though from this year, tax year 26-27, when you will file 3CB next year in 27, new forum have been specific forum 48, which is quite comprehensive than the present forum. Present forum, there are basically some of the it's very difficult to show some of the transaction in the present forum. कितना amount दिखाना है, कहाँ दिखाना है, दिखाना भी है नहीं दिखाना है, currency कौन सी है, कौन सा column fill करना है. There are so many lacuna in the present forum. But if you do practice in transfer pricing and filing TP TP certificate, then you I have seen some tax consultant file Form 3CB without doing the benchmarking. And in the Form 3CB, only one thing is the subjective, that is what is the method. And many times people, professional ask me, sir, sale किया है, कौन सा method लगा दें? परचेज किया कौन सा मेथड लगा दें, सर्विस दिए कौन सा, देयर इज नो मेथड, देयर इज नो ट्रांजैक्शन स्पेसिफिक मेथड, एनी मेथड कैन बी most appropriate method for any transaction. For purchase transaction, it can be CUP, it can be RPM, it can be CPM, it can be TNMM, it depend on the comparability. So it's quite difficult for the professional who is signing the 3CB without doing benchmark, he is taking a huge risk. But now this problem is solved by the department. Now the new Forum 48 from assessment year 27-28 is not possible unless you have done a comprehensive benchmarking, because all the detail of benchmarking, calculation of PLI, many things, it is going to be very cumbersome, very complex, very difficult from the next year. So now by default, benchmarking have to be done, number one. Number two, benchmarking have to be done in a proper manner. It's not that anything you write in the benchmarking that is benchmarking. No. Now, this forum is so comprehensive, so detailed that even benchmarking is done, still it is very difficult to fill it. Let's see when the utility will come in the next time. Then we file this forum, then only we can come to know how easy or how difficult this is. But I have not discussed this one. This will take at least I think half a day to discuss this forum. And again, only after the utilities come. So what transaction? I discussed some transaction. Undisputed transaction you can show, no problem. But disputed transaction, there are so many disputed transaction. AMP है, trade receivable है. अब trade receivable पर क्या अमाउंट दिखाओगे आप? क्या 30 दिन से ज्यादा दिखाओगे, उसके एंड का दिखाओगे, ईयर का एंड का दिखाओगे, शेयर एप्लीकेशन का, मैनी टैक्स पेयर, मैनी कंसल्टेंट सो शेयर एप्लीकेशन मनी, इट इज नॉट टैक्सेबल, स्टिल देयर, सो दे इट. So disputed transaction have to be shown or not shown, it is a matter of choice. कुछ transaction, some transaction which required no benchmarking, like reimbursement. We say reimbursement have many type of reimbursement. We are saying reimbursement doesn't mean it is have no impact on PLI. No, there are many reimbursement which can affect the PLI, which can affect the benchmarking. But whether it's effect or not effect, you have to show this transaction. Transaction which require benchmarking, obviously you have to show this one. So undisputed transactions you have to show. No benchmarking require reimbursement, you have to show. Disputed transaction, it is a choice depending on the nature. Like loan, if you have taken a loan or borrowing or given loan on receivable or payable, there is no column. Whether the amount of the loan should be shown, whether the interest part should be shown. There is no two column, there is only one column. If we show loan will always be at ALP. What is the purpose? Then where the this interest have to be shown? So this is the problem in the current forum. Reimbursement received along with the nature of transaction, no column. What type of reimbursement is this one? Say transaction, no column specific. Guarantee, no column specific. Amount of guarantee is no column, but if you pay the guarantee fee, then there is a column. So present 3CB have some lacuna. Transaction कौन सा दिखाना है, नहीं दिखाना है, amount to be shown, not shown, currency column to be filled. New forum will be quite opposite of the present forum, quite comprehensive, quite complex. And I hope some of these deficiency will have been sorted out in the new forum. So this is again, I have covered this one. Now AO's responsibility. And according to my experience, generally I have seen AO only refer the case to TPO whenever that is selected for TPO. transfer pricing. But he has some other responsibility also. I have covered in a very quick manner. First thing is CB instruction are binding on tax authority. It is settled law that unless there is a contrary decision of the High Court, Supreme Court, till the time it is overridden by some court's ruling, it is binding. The tax authority, whether it is TPO or AO, they are binding on this one. This is actually when the reference have to be made to the TPO. There is a CBTT instruction number 3/2016. This is quite comprehensive instruction. And based on this, there are so many cases which say these are binding. This instruction number 3/2016, which provide various situations when the case have to be referred, who will do the benchmarking, who will determine the ALP, who will not determine the ALP. All this is provided in this instruction. And the court have said that this is binding. They have followed. If this is violated, if this is not followed, then the assessment may be quashed, may be null and void. So you please refer this instruction 3/2016. I have discussed this also. These are general case laws on CBDT instruction. This is specific to 3/2016 instruction number under transfer pricing. So based on this, what is the AO's responsibility under transfer pricing? AO have to make reference to TPO as per CBT instruction. AO can make reference only when it is provided under the CBT instruction. इससे बाहर नहीं जा सकता. AO have to investigate if there is any unreported transaction. Generally, I have not seen any AO who is doing this. Who is doing this exercise? No AO I have seen in my life who is researching or verifying whether some unreported transactions are there. But legally, he have to do this one. AO cannot determine ALP of international transaction under any circumstances, even where no reference to TPO is made. And AO have to specifically mention that TP matter is not investigated by him. As per instruction, when the case is selected on TP risk parameter, you have to refer this to TPO. If the case is not selected on TP parameter, he have to assess only those matter other than TP matter. He can't decide the TP matter. He can't do the ALP determination of the TP matter. He have to written that in the assessment order that the taxpayer have entered into this transaction, but I have not verified the correctness of this ALP. It is specifically provided in the CBT instruction. Only the TPO is authorized to do the benchmarking only when the case is selected on TP parameter. When the case is selected based on the CBT instruction. Not otherwise. ALP of the international transaction have to be taken. AO is bound by the determination done by the TPO. Wherever the case is referred to TPO, ALP determined by the TPO is binding on the AO. अगर SSC DRP में चले जाता है तो DRP की डायरेक्शन बाइंडिंग है AO पे. And have to make draft order. AO का अगर there is a eligible SSC है तो AO का ड्यूटी बाउंड टू मेक ए ड्राफ्ट ऑर्डर. अगर ड्राफ्ट ऑर्डर नहीं बनाता है तो सारी प्रोसीडिंग वाइड हो जाएगी. लेटेस्ट लाइन में वी विल कवर ड्राफ्ट ऑर्डर. सो एओ की मेन रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ये है, केस स्कूटनी में लगा है, टीपी रिस्क है, उसमें लिखा हुआ है स्पेसिफिकली रेफर कर दे. नहीं लिखा है तो डिटर्मिनेशन का एएलपी डिटर्मिनेशन का नहीं है. अनरिपोर्टेड ट्रांजैक्शन देख सकता है, खुद बिल्कुल एएलपी डिटर्मिनेशन नहीं करेगा. एएलपी डिटर्मिनेशन टीपीओ करेगा और डीआरपी डायरेक्शन को फॉलो करेगा. और इन द केस ऑफ एलिजिबल एसएससी ही विल पास ए ड्राफ्ट ऑर्डर. सो AO responsibility you have seen. Just read this instruction 3/2016. You will see most of the things I have covered here. This topic number 6. When reference can be made to TPO? Up to 15 October 2015, it was mandatory on the AO to make reference to TPO if the international transaction exceed 5 crore. Later, it was increased to 15 crore. However, now this is provision is changed. From 16 October 2015, these are the various situations where that AO can refer the case to transfer pricing officer. Under case, if the selection criteria is risk parameter, then only he have to refer. अगर सर्च असेसमेंट में टीपी रिस्क पैरामीटर पे बेस पे केस में नहीं आया है केस, तो ही कांट रेफर इट टू. सर्च सर्वे में अगर कोई इंक्रीमेटिंग मटेरियल मिलता है इन्वेस्टिगेशन विंग को, तो ही नो मॉनिटरी लिमिट, अदरवाइज नहीं. इफ देर इज नो इंक्रीमेटिंग मटेरियल ट्रांसफर प्राइस से रिलेटेड कुछ मिलता है, नो. Where no 3CB is filed and assessing officer come to know that the SSC have entered into international transaction, then he have to first decide whether it is international transaction or not, then he can refer that TPO. When some transaction are not disclosed and the SSC found that some transaction are not recorded, then first he have to give a finding, yes, there are undisclosed transactions, then he can refer it to TPO. सेट असाइड केस में भी अगर पार्टली और होली सेट असाइड है डिनोवो असेसमेंट के लिए, तो उसमें रेफर करना ही पड़ेगा टीपीओ को. लेकिन इफ द ओनली अपील इफेक्ट देना है, फिर रेफर करने की जरूरत नहीं है. सेट असाइड केस क्या हो गया. वन इज कैश. कैश में आई हैव डिस्कस दिस सर्कुलर इंस्ट्रक्शन 3/2016, and you may be aware that every year there is a manual selection process, scrutiny. Mandatory scrutiny selection circular comes every year, and in this circular it is prescribed that exceeding, if any adjustment exceeding 50 lakh in 8 metro, exceeding 20 lakhs in other metro cities other than 8 metro in the earlier year, then where such addition has become final as no further appeal has been preferred against the assessment order or has been upheld by the assessing appellant authority in favor of revenue, even further appeal is by the SSC is pending. So these are the two limit. Earlier, these are quite a low limit. Earlier it was 10 crore. Under the transfer pricing, 20 lakh, 50 lakh is nothing. So this is very on low side. Earlier 10 crore was, I think, was more appropriate. But whatever this is done, now this limit is 50 lakhs and 20 lakhs. So if there is no appeal, then it is mandatory to open the case. If appeal is filed but revenue appeal may won and SSC filed another appeal, then also the AO is competent to select the case for TP assessment. Now the question is, if you have seen that this appellant authority in favor of revenue, what it means? क्या डीआरपी को अपीलेंट अथॉरिटी मानेंगे? नहीं. डीआरपी is not a appellant authority. If the DRP have held in favor of the revenue, still it don't qualify as per the previous it does not qualify in mandatory scrutiny guidelines. Whether SSC won CIT appeal but ITT held in favor of revenue and appeal pending, yes, it may be. Which assessment year can be opened? Because sometime in the, if you see, if the CIT appeal is pending in CIT appeal, it may take 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So many appeal are finding. If the appeal is not finding, then most of the case will be time barred. Which year to be opened? Under which section assessment can be selected? Not under 140. Under the normal scrutiny is not possible because a appeal is filed, then only 148 is possible. If addition of 70 lakhs is made, but CIT reduce it to 40 lakhs, then it is below 50 lakhs in Delhi. I think it's not applicable. So no mandatory scrutiny. Mandatory scrutiny guidelines or Income Tax Act, whichever will prevail. Obviously, Income Tax Act will prevail over scrutiny guidelines. AP case, safe harbor case, these also I don't. These are I think not relevant for many of our chartered accountants, so I am not covering this one. जनरल पॉइंट वही है, टीपी रिस्क पैरामीटर पे होगा तो इंटरनेशनल ट्रांजैक्शन का टीपी रिस्क है तो इंटरनेशनल को करेंगे, डोमेस्टिक है तो डोमेस्टिक करेंगे, दोनों है तो दोनों करेंगे, नहीं करेंगे। और सारे ट्रांजैक्शन ही हम ये नहीं है कि 10 ट्रांजैक्शन है 2 ही करेंगे। और अगर रिस्क पैरामीटर पे सिलेक्शन नहीं है तो यू हैव टू राइट दिस इन द असेसमेंट ऑर्डर दैट ही हैव नॉट benchmark the international transaction and its case is not selected on TP parameter. अगर क्वालिफाइंग मार्क कर दिया है तो अलग प्रोसीजर, आई विल कवर दैट वन। अगर डिस्क्लोज नहीं किया है तो भी उसको फर्स्ट यू हैव टू डिसाइड वेदर इट इज इंटरनेशनल ट्रांजैक्शन और नॉट। Based on SOCAS, he have to issue the SOCAS. He have to take the approval of the CIT. Then, if he come to the of the opinion that it is international transaction, then he have to refer it to the TPO. Speaking order पास करना ही पड़ेगा। अनडिस्प्यूटेड ट्रांजैक्शन में तो अगर इंस्ट्रक्शन में आता है तो करेगा, नहीं करेगा। दिस इज अ सिंपल। डिस्प्यूटेड में है तो फर्स्ट ही हैव टू गिव ए फाइंडिंग दिस इज ए इंटरनेशनल ट्रांजैक्शन और डोमेस्टिक ट्रांजैक्शन विद द अप्रूवल ऑफ द प्रिंसिपल CIT. ही हैव टू गिव द SOCAS after receipt of the reply of the SSC. He have to decide whether it is international transaction domestic, and with the approval of the CIT, he have to refer to TPO. Now, the TPO order can be earlier there was no provision. Now there is specifically large amended from 1/4/2022 that TPO order can be revised. TPO order can be revised. Actually, there are two jurisdictional commissioner, two parallel jurisdiction in the case of transfer pricing. One CIT is jurisdictional above the AO. One is commissioner who belongs to the AO, under which the AO pertain. And other commissioner or principal commissioner or CC is where the TP assessment is made. So there are two parallel jurisdiction. One is TP jurisdiction, CIT, principal CIT and CCIT, principal CCIT. And other is AO, principal CCIT, CIT, CCIT. Both have different authority. If the TP order have to be revised, then the CIT, TP can revise that order. If the AO order have to be revised, which is not based on transfer pricing, TP order or not based on DRP direction, then the CIT can revise. No other CIT. No, there are two CIT basically now. One is TP and other is non-TP. So both have power, but their jurisdiction is defined. When no reference is made by the AO, as already discussed, he can't determine the ALP. ये मैटर लिखना पड़ेगा. CIT jurisdictional or CIT TP cannot revise A order because when the case is not selected for scrutiny on TP risk, this is CBDT instruction is binding. We can't say this order is erroneous, prejudicial to the revenue. How you can say? So, if the case is not selected for scrutiny on TP risk parameter and AO does not review the transfer price international transaction, then neither the CIT jurisdictional neither CIT TP can revise that order. However, where the reference to TP is mandatory, however, no such reference is made by AO, the CIT jurisdictional can ask the AO to refer the case to TPO because CBDT instructions are binding. Some of the situation reference can be made only when the assessment for the relevant assessment is pending. Means 143(2) का नोटिस से स्टार्ट होता है असेसमेंट. अगर 143(2) का नोटिस नहीं है तो असेसमेंट स्टार्ट नहीं हुआ. असेसमेंट स्टार्ट नहीं हुआ तो रेफरेंस पॉसिबल ही नहीं है. तो कोई भी इट्स ए वैल्यूएशन इट्स ए डिटर्मिनेशन ऑफ बेंच ALP और ALP determination is only for the purpose of assessment. If the assessment is not pending, no reference to TPO. ये नहीं हो सकता. Once the assessment is passed and the AO come to of the opinion that I have not referred it to TPO, so I should refer it to TPO, and he refer that after assessment refer the case to TPO. No, he can't do that one. But under 263, if it is a mandatory selection under TP risk matter, CIT can revise that. The addition made based on basis and order passed by TPO on an invalid reference by an AO is nullity. अगर रेफरेंस नहीं करना था CBDT इंस्ट्रक्शन पे फिर भी कर दिया और TPO ने उसमें एडजस्टमेंट कर दी तो वो न्यूलिटी है, वो वाइड है, इनवैलिड है. क्यों? CBDT इंस्ट्रक्शन आर बाइंडिंग. और TPO कैनॉट इनिशिएट एनी प्रोसीडिंग SSC आफ्टर पासिंग. जब फाइनल असेसमेंट ऑर्डर पास ही हो गया तो नो प्रोसीडिंग आर पेंडिंग. जब प्रोसीडिंग पेंडिंग नहीं है तो नो रेफरेंस टू TPO. This I will can are you getting my point? Are you my voice is clear? I hope I am my voice is clear. My PPT is okay so far. Sandeep ji, your voice is not. You are, I think.
Now, sir?
Yeah. I am okay. Fine.
Yes, sir. Fine, sir. Fine, sir.
So I am proceeding. Okay. Thank you. Now procedure practice before the TPO. Till now we have discussed how the matter reached the TPO. Now we will see what the TPO can do. Scope of power of TPO. Many time, all the time you say ALP determination at ALP determination. ALP determination होता क्या है? ALP determination is very complex. I have made a separate PPT on this one. Though this is what is meaning of ALP? This is quite complex and quite controversial. But this is beyond the scope of this present discussion. We will stick to the topic selected for this webinar. And on litigation planning and management, we will stick to this. Not discuss ALP, but ALP generally based on comparable. Scope of power is the under the law, the scope of power of TPO is determination of arm's length price, nothing else. And if you believe me, what is the scope of ALP? It's quite wide, quite wide. But if you see the ruling given by various honorable courts, they have limited its scope. Where they have applied it very conservative manner. Though really for me it's a quite wide. Whether GAR can be applied, yes, it's a part of GAR, ALP determination. Whether recharacterization, yes. Whether disregard of the transaction, yes. But under the Indian jurisprudence, this is quite narrowly applied. But I am not discussing this one. Journey before TPO. रेफरेंस एओ से आता है, जैसे हमने अभी डिस्कस किया, रेफरेंस आएगा एओ से। जैसे रेफरेंस आएगा टैक्स पेयर को फर्स्ट नोटिस आएगा, उसके बाद इंफॉर्मेशन शेयर करेगा वो जो है टैक्स पेयर, फाइनल शो का नोटिस आएगा, फिर ऑडिट और फाइनल टीपी ऑर्डर आएगा। और फाइनल टीपी ऑर्डर में दो जुरिडिक्शन है, एक अगर ACIT और DCIT टीपीओ है तो एडिशनल उसको वो करता है, रिव्यू करता है, एडिशनल उसको अप्रूवल देता है। अगर ज्वाइंट और एडिशनल CIT TP ऑर्डर बनाता है तो CIT PCIT उसको अप्रूव करता है। देयर आर टू अथॉरिटीज विच वर्क सिमुलटेनियसली। उसके बाद टीपीओ के बाद कंप्लीशन ऑफ असेसमेंट एंड इशू ऑफ ड्राफ्ट असेसमेंट ऑर्डर। जहां भी वेरी एलिजिबल SSC होगा वहां पे एओ एलिजिबल SSC के केस में ड्राफ्ट असेसमेंट ऑर्डर बनाएगा। ड्राफ्ट असेसमेंट ऑर्डर के बाद SSC के पास दो ऑप्शन है, वेयर द SSC इंटीमेट द एक्सेप्टेंस ऑफ वेरिएशन टू एओ विद इन द पीरियड ऑफ 30 days or does not reply within the period of 30 days, then in both the situation they have to pass the final assessment order with the proposed variation. A have to must pass the assessment order within 1 month from the end of the month in which the acceptance is received or period of filing of objection expire. In this case, the SSC can file. अगर कोई भी टाइमलाइन वायलेट होती है तो असेसमेंट इनवैलिड हो जाएगा। अगर SSC इंटीमेट द रिजर्वेशन अगेंस्ट द प्रपोज वेरिएशन तो DRP के पास चले जाएगा, और DRP के ऑर्डर आने के बाद he can go directly to ATO. No direction should be issued by the panel after 9 months from the end of the month in which the draft order is forwarded to the eligible SSC. जब ऑर्डर फॉरवर्ड होता है उससे 9 महीने के अंदर अगर नहीं होता है तो वो भी null and void हो जाएगा। फर्स्ट नोटिस में you have seen so many things are asked by the TPO. These are the relevant agreement, transfer pricing adjustment, ये। These are the general, you have seen this one, not discussing this one. Hearing before TPO, modification in benchmarking method comparable during assessment and appeal is possible. Yes. जब असेसमेंट होता है तो असेसमेंट के टाइम आप चीज न्यू कंपेरेबल ला सकते हो, नया मेथड कर सकते हो, सब कुछ कर सकते हो, बिकॉज असेसमेंट इज ओपन। However, you have to satisfied that you have maintained the documentation also in bona fide belief at the time of filing of 3CB. Data about foreign aid generally not asked unless the tested party is foreign aid or PSM is selected. If taxpayer fail to provide the relevant data, TPA also have to make search for the comparable. He or she cannot make adjustment on ad hoc basis. It is always advisable for the TPO to provide relevant data to taxpayer whenever she is relying on new comparable or new benchmark study with supporting document and circulation calculation. Otherwise, possibility of quashing of assessment or remand of the case will be higher. As I had discussed in the very beginning, अगर किसी ने भी, चाहे टैक्स पेयर है चाहे TPO है, होमवर्क नहीं किया, डिटेल असेसमेंट के टाइम प्रॉपर नहीं करी, नोटिस नहीं दिया, डिटेल नहीं दी, तो क्वैश भी हो सकता है और रिमांड बैक भी हो सकता है डिपेंडिंग ऑन द फैक्ट्स ऑफ द केस। Transaction which are not referred by the AO, TPO power, whether transaction reported by the SSC in the report furnished under ISNA and रेफर नहीं किया, अभी वो पॉसिबल नहीं है। पहले ही पॉसिबल था कि कुछ ट्रांजैक्शन रेफर कर दिया, कुछ नहीं, अब पॉसिबल नहीं है, तो सारे ट्रांजैक्शन रेफर करता है। स्टिल इफ नॉट रेफर्ड, still the TPO have power to do the benchmarking of cases which are unreported or unreferred. Same, not reported, same thing. TPO have power. Earlier there was no power. After 2012, it is now the TPO is empowered to determine the length of course if he found some transactions are not reported. TPO power, binding nature of ALP determined by the TPO. ALP of the transaction, वही जैसे आज ऑलरेडी आई हैव डिस्कस, जो टीपीओ ने जो एएलपी डिटरमिनेशन किया था वो बाइंडिंग है। डीआरपी के पास जाता है केस तो डीआरपी की डायरेक्शन बाइंडिंग है। अर्लियर सीआईटी 263 में नहीं कर सकता था, अब कर सकता है। तो क्वेश्चन क्या है, आता है कि हु इज द फाइनल अथॉरिटी, डीआरपी, सीआईटी, प्रिंसिपल सीआईटी, सीसीआईटी और प्रिंसिपल सीसीआईटी। समझो क्या होता है, व्हाट इज द प्रोसीजर। टीपीओ ऑर्डर पास किया, if there is a variation in the ALP, AO will make the draft order. Draft order के against the SSC will go to DRP. If he goes to DRP and DRP do some change, then the AO pass the final assessment order. Then whether the CIT can revise that order also, which is based on the DRP, I don't think so. But law provides so. TPO order and DRP direction, but certain judgment old and new are also, we say DRP order cannot be revised by the CIT. AO cannot reopen the case under 147 which is based on TPO DRP, because if TPO and DRP have order है तो 147 में उस ट्रांजैक्शन पे उस डिटर्मिनेशन पे reopen possible नहीं है, because they are already subject to expert valuation. और जो टीपीओ में ऑर्डर में भी अगर क्लैरिकल मिस्टेक है, कंप्यूटेशनल मिस्टेक है, अपरेंट फ्रॉम रिकॉर्ड है, दैट ऑर्डर कैन आल्सो बी रेक्टिफाई ओनली बाय द टीपीओ, नॉट बाय द एओ। अनरिपोर्टेड ट्रांजैक्शन प्रोसीजर कोई प्रेस्क्राइब नहीं है। अगर टीपीओ को कोई अनरिपोर्टेड ट्रांजैक्शन मिलता है, लेकिन जो प्रोसीजर प्रेस्क्राइब्ड फॉर एओ है, सेम प्रोसेस शुड बी फॉलोड बाय द टीपीओ। उसको सेटिस्फाइड करना चाहिए कि ये पोटेंशियल है इनकम के, ये ट्रांजैक्शन है जो नहीं दिखाया है, अपॉर्चुनिटी ऑफ हर्ट देना चाहिए, शोकाज देना चाहिए और प्रिंसिपल कमिश्नर के अप्रूवल लेना चाहिए, देन ओनली ही शुड मेक द बेंचमार्किंग। दिस इज अगेन बेस्ड ऑन द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ नेचुरल जस्टिस। रेक्टिफिकेशन टीपीओ ऑर्डर का सिर्फ टीपीओ कर सकता है, कोई नहीं कर सकता। This topic number 8, this is very important, and this is this fundamental principle, 3 fundamental principle, very very important. By use of these 3 principle, many cases can be the scope of ALP determination and the benchmarking can change drastically. Res judicata and principle of consistency, no estoppel against the provision of law, principle of natural justice. These are very, very important principle. Instead of merit, these principle provide much relief to the taxpayer most of the time. What is principle res consistency res judicata? Principle of res judicata simply means that previous year decision are binding, but this is not applicable in the tax proceeding. But on the other side, many time it is settled provision, though this principle is not applicable, but there should be consistency of approach, consistency of determination, consistency of opinion, consistency of determination. Only in 3 region there can be once a view is taken by any assessing officer in the case of one person or other person. that view have to be taken in the later years based on principle of consistency, except in 3 cases. Facts in the current year have changed as compared to previous year. Law is amended. Previous cases of the SSC was decided wrongly as per fact and position. Except in 3 situations, the officer are bound to accept the principle of consistency which is applied in earlier have to apply in this year also. These are the landmark case of Radhaswamy Saxon, Excel Industry, Maruti Suzuki. Most of the time, the courts have said there is significant value which must attach to observing the requirement of consistency and certainty. So, I don't think there is any dispute on this principle, except in 3 situations, this is binding, and there are thousands of cases you will see that are decided just based on this consistency principle. So, taxpayer should use this principle if it is applicable to him. These are some of the very important cases. Burden of proof is on the person who does not want to apply the principle. Like I had chosen a TNMA method in the previous year. This year also I am chosen the TNMA method. But the assessing officer want to apply the method. Now the onus is on the revenue to prove that in this year TNMA is not the most appropriate method due to this reason. Unless he prove that one, principle of consistency say whichever is applied in earlier year, this year have to be applied. Method accepted based on earlier year? Yes. Royalty FTS allowed on earlier year? Yes. Comparable accepted based on earlier? Yes. No addition for service based on earlier year decision. These are some of the cases, and there are thousands of cases, not 100, thousands of cases in which this principle is applied. And it is very important. Only thing is, you have to compare the earlier year decision with the facts, with the current year decision, current year facts. If you prove that one, then obviously it is the tax authority, they have to prove otherwise. It's very, very important principle. Now the other principle, modification is benchmarking method comparable during assessment and appeal. Yes. Most of the time we see we have done a benchmarking and the TPO have rejected our benchmarking, come with the new benchmarking. Now the question is, can we apply new method, new comparable, new adjustment during the assessment? Yes. If it is the bona fide belief, if legally we can do this one, there is no restriction on the power of the taxpayer if he is bona fide. Because it is based on the principle that there is no estoppel against the provision of law, which is legally can be taken comparable, that can be taken comparable at any point of time. And method, if it is bona fide, if it cannot be, suppose comparable was not available at the time of benchmarking, later new comparable are available, you can always choose that one. So this is also settled that during assessment, during objection DRP, assessment is open, you can rely on any comparable if it is the real comparable, legally comparable. It's not the assessing officer cannot say you have chosen this one comparable, you cannot now remove this one. No, you can, if you can prove at that time you have no full facts of this comparable. Now these facts are in my knowledge, and according to these facts, according to this one, this is not comparable. So comparable, method, adjustment, anything can be done during the assessment before TPO or DRP. Even something which come to knowledge of the taxpayer before ITT also, that also can be done, because ITT also fact-finding body. Depending on the situation, if the taxpayer prove that bona fide opinion of the SSC or not availability of those information at the time of assessment. These are some of the landmark case of Supreme Court, High Court. Even the comparable is taken by the SSC, he can still ask for withdrawing it. No stopper. These are some of the cases. All these cases say DRP. You can ask the ask before the DRP. You can ask before the ITT also. Third principle, principle of natural justice. Natural justice means आपको these are some landmark cases. Time नहीं दिया. These are the decision near the end of the limitation. These are what should be the procedure for assessment should be fair one. Should the officer give so-called notice before assessment with specific details for adjustment? Yes. Unless the SSC, unless the tax authorities give the specific detail on which point they are going to make adjustment and what are the reason, then it may be possible the assessment may be either quashed based on the fact or it may be remand back. Because unless the taxpayer knows what are the reason, how he can reply, how he can rebut. What time should be given? It should be proper. You can't, it cannot be said that 3 days is more enough, 7 days is enough, 15 days is enough, 21 days is enough. It can't be said. It depends on the requirement of the documents, information. That time should be sufficient. Should the officer supply for the material information which he relies on adjustment? Yes. If he doesn't reply, give the information, how the SSC can reply? How he can rebut that information? Can the officer ask for details which are not relevant? Generally, it is not possible. Should the officer took note of the information provided after due date but before assessment? Yes. If the, for example, if SSC have given time till 15th of June, but this SSC provided on 16, 17, 18, 20, and the assessment order is passed on 25. Though the time to give the reply have expired, still at the time of assessment, information are available. So that have to be taken care of. They have to incorporate in the assessment. They have to rely in the assessment. Can information not in control of taxpayer can be required? No, nothing, never. These are some of the landmark cases which have said SSC must be put to notice of all the provision on which the department relies. Failure to give reason amount to denial of justice. Requirement of giving reason is one of the fundamental of good administration. This is a Supreme Court landmark decision on Masood Ahmed Khan, in which it has summarized the reason for giving recording reason. He have given various logic why the reason should be given in the assessment order. These are various reasons. So, three fundamental principles I have, and if you apply these three fundamental principles, and I am hopeful that many of your problem will be solved after application of consistency. जो पहले सालों में हुआ है इस साल में भी होना चाहिए. Even the government have now come with the block assessment in transfer pricing. No stable against the provision. अगर गलती से कोई कंपेरेबल कोई मेथड को चूज कर लिया है, और यू हैव दैट वाज बेस्ड ऑन योर बोनाफाइड बिलीफ, यू कैन चेंज इट। नेचुरल जस्टिस, आपको टाइम मिलना चाहिए, क्यों डिसऑनर होना है ये मिलना चाहिए। ये दीज आर बेसिक फंडामेंटल प्रिंसिपल, and under the transfer pricing the value of this principle is very high, because these are super expert subject, and many a time I have seen uh, at the starting of litigation, a normal tax consultant work. If some decision is made, then other tax consultant will be hired. If it is gone in appeal at higher level, then some other tax super consultant is hired. So approach change with every consultant. So it's bona fide belief, because it's the law is such that it's required super expert knowledge. So if there is a change in comparable change in method change, and that is according to law, that have to be allowed. These fundamental principles are based on this concept, and these are very important. And I hope 70 to 80% case will be covered by these three fundamental principles. Again, the last 3 or 4 years, 3, 4, 5, I can say, these are interesting years. And if you see, if you are privy to hearing before ITAT and High Court, Supreme Court, every tax professional, every counsel have taken an additional ground, additional legal ground of limitation based on ROCA, based on DIN, based on 60 days, based on 1 month DRP direction. 3 or 4 issues are so frequent in TP litigation. If any of these issues, now if you see in this budget, there are multiple retrospective amendment. If you have read this year budget, all the provision relating to income tax Act 1961 are retrospective. All the provision relating to 1961 are retrospective, applicable from 1st of March 2026. Other than retrospective, some of retrospective in the very retrospective, they are amended from the inception, 2009, 14, 16, whenever the provision came. And this limitation aspect is so crucial if you understand this one. And I have not seen many cases recently which are fought on merit. Not seen any cases, very few cases. In every case, there is a petition by the tax council. We are taking this legal ground, and legal ground have to be NTPs, based on NTPs have to be allowed. That my assessment is time barred. And this is very important. I am explaining, first I am explaining what is the timeline of different things, different timeline of assessment. And slightly 1 minute, 1 hour delay can make the whole proceeding invalid. For assessment, I taken assessment at 424-25, which I think may be pending now. Return of income is filed on 28th November. It is last date is 30th November. Various timeline will be issue of notice 143(2). If not issued or issued beyond 30th June, invalid. Reference to TPO. Reference to TPO can be made between issue of notice 143(2) and 31st March 2026. Because if it is not made by 31st March 26, then the 1 year extension will not be possible and the assessment will be time barred. Order of TPO has to be passed 60 days prior to the date on which the time limit provided under Section 153 Act expire. Generally, when the case is referred to TPO, there are 2 years, and the TPO order have to be 60 days. The language is 60 days prior to the date on which the time limit provided expires. That means 31st March have to be excluded, and then 60 days to be excluded, then the limit. And due to this one day, I think there may be multiple, there may be 100 and 500 cases which become time barred. Just only for 2 days, one days. And now there is a amendment also, which are subject to challenge. So, if the this TPO order is have to be made by 29 January 2027 at Harvard 23:59:59. If it is beyond that one, that will be invalid. Draft assessment order on or before 31st March 2027. Filing of objection via DRP 30 days of receipt of draft order. If received on 30th March 27, 29 April 27. अगर इसके बाद अगर ऑब्जेक्शन फाइल किए हैं और टीपीओ ने या एओ ने ऑर्डर फाइनल नहीं बनाया है तो इट बिकम टाइम बार्ड. DRP direction within 9 months from the draft order end of the month. Final assessment order within 1 month from the end of the month which the direction is received. These are various timeline. Issue of notice, reference to TPO, order of TPO, passing of draft order, filing of objection, passing of DRP direction, passing of final order. And there are thousands of cases on this various limitation. Somewhere notice is not given, somewhere order of TPO is beyond 60 days, somewhere draft order is not passed, somewhere DRP objection is not filed 30 days. There are thousands of cases. Final assessment order is not passed within 30 days. There are thousands of cases on limitation. Exceeding any of the time limit will be question of order, including all consequential proceeding. These I have discussed. Any of the timeline is violated, it means become null and void. These are various cases. Time barring assessment does not come with the pre mistake. So 292B apply नहीं होगी. So time barred assessment null and void हो जाएंगे. वे DRP डायरेक्शन वाज डेटेड 25/3/21, अब असेसमेंट और 31/8. ये तो 1 महीने से वैसे ज्यादा है, 3 महीने से ज्यादा, 5 महीने से है, 1 महीने से ज्यादा हो जाती है. तो ये सिंस ऑर्डर ऑफ असेसमेंट लाइबल टू फ्रेम लास्टली बाय 30/9 इतना एज पर मैंडेटरी प्रोविजन कंप्राइज. इम्पॉर्टेंट असेसमेंट ऑर्डर ऑन 13/2, ये भी बहुत लेट है, टाइम बार्ड है. वेयर फाइनल असेसमेंट ऑर्डर पास बाय असेसिंग ऑफिसर बियॉन्ड पीरियड ऑफ 1 मंथ फ्रॉम द एंड ऑफ यस, जैसे हमने भी किया कि ये था ना, ये देखो, ये 144C assessments without providing opportunity of being had to within 1 month from the end of the month with the direction. जब भी आती है डायरेक्शन नहीं करते हैं तो null and void हो जाएगा. Uploading on the, this is very important, uploading on the ITBA portal will constitute valid and sufficient as service and limitations should be completed. बहुत से केसों में क्या होता है कि अपलोड 31 को हो गया, लेकिन AO से he receive on 5th of next month, 6th or month or not receive. Then the court say if it is uploaded on ITBA portal, that is the date when the limitation start. This is very important. Yes. Reference to TPR express assessment invalid, already I have discussed. On the day the reference was made to the transfer authority, there was no written pending for consideration. वही assessment pending नहीं है तो कुछ नहीं होगा. Limitation where DRP rectified, DRP ने अगर ओरिजिनल ऑर्डर पास किया फिर रेक्टिफाई ऑर्डर किया तो लिमिटेशन स्टार्ट होगी ओरिजिनल डेट से, क्योंकि रेक्टिफिकेशन इज टोटली बेस्ड ऑन प्राइमा फेसी अपरेंट एरर that have nothing to do. The original order is relevant for the purpose of limitation. where the notice for assessment was digitally signed, इतना before limited expiry and was due to assessment, इतना could not be said the time barred. ये contra decision मद्रास हाई कोर्ट का है, बट दी डिजिटली साइंड इतना है इसलिए कर दिया उन्होंने, अदरवाइज अगर दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट का सुप्रीम कोर्ट का देखो दे आर कॉन्ट्रा। If objection before DRP is not filed within 30 days from the date of receipt, assessment order is assessing officer not required to await DRP disposal of objection. Assessing officer have to proceed with completion of assessment. अगर डिले है तो उसको ये नहीं देखना है कि भाई डीआरपी है, वंस 30 days लिमिट इज ओवर ही हैव टू पास इमीडिएटली द फाइनल ऑर्डर, अदरवाइज द होल प्रोसीडिंग विल बी invalid, null and void. So this is limitation, so many limitations, so many procedures. This is very important point, and I think these few years are, most of the cases are based on this limitation. And this year there are many retrospective amendments. If time permit, I have covered those also, which are those retrospective amendments. What is the impact and what is the way forward? What the position the taxpayer should take due to a retrospective amendment. So, dispute resolution panel, I think the should actually, if I cover this one, then we cover, I think we are on 89. First is whether the DRP, we should go with the DRP or CIT appeal. Number one, DRP only we go against draft order, CIT appeal में final order के पास जाते हैं. Stay over demand, DRP at the time draft order there is no assessment, final assessment, so no liability to pay, so there is no need for stay of demand, but there is stay of demand. Generally 22% is asked by the department. There is a fixed period of 9 months, no extension possible in any circumstances. DRP order have to be given within, but 1 month, 1 year है एक tentative, but we have seen there are so many years, so many cases are pending by CIT before CIT appeal. दोनों ही फेस टू फेस है, फाइलिंग ऑफलाइन ऑनलाइन है, अपील फी डीआरपी में कोई नहीं है, सीआईटी अपील में है. And most of the cases generally the taxpayer adopt DRP mainly or two reasons, because no amount is payable, no demand, and within 9 months he is be high before the ITT. ये कुछ नहीं है, ये कुछ नहीं है, DRP कुछ नहीं है. Who can opt? This is important that जहाँ two eligible person means 2 person. One is non-resident including foreign company. Other is where the variation in transfer pricing is made by the TPO, not AO, TPO. If some adjustment is made by the TPO, number one. Number two, non-resident including foreign company. If the case pertain to two category, then only you are eligible SSC. If you are eligible SSC, then by force the AO have to pass the draft assessment order. If the eligible SSC is the case of eligible SSC, no draft order is passed. There are 100 cases. These are quest because no draft order is passed. We will cover in later slides. ऑप्शनल है डीआरपी रूट, यस इट्स ऑप्शनल. पावर क्या है? जस्ट लाइक सीआईटी की पावर है, वो एनाउंसमेंट की पावर भी है, बट दैट इज सब्जेक्ट टू नोट न्यू सोर्स ऑफ इनकम. Announcement, yeah, he covered this one. This is the slightly tricky provision. Whether new source of income can be bring within the scope. There are different cases on this one. Otherwise, legally, the DRP have power of enhancement. The point which are taken by the, which are decided by the AO, on which those points he have certainly have, but which we are not part of assessment. Entirely new source of income or expenses, that is beyond this power. There are a different ruling of different courts. This is Delhi High Court ruling. This is not as I think settled. These are different based on fact, but the courts have said the limitation which is on CIT appeal, no new source of income can bring within the assessment. The same thing is with the DRP. Additional evidence ला सकता है, यस. टाइम लिमिट है, 9 महीने की है. रिवेन्यू अपील कर सकता है, अपील नहीं कर सकता, लेकिन क्रॉस ऑब्जेक्शन 2023 के बाद क्रॉस ऑब्जेक्शन कर सकता है. DRP can demand no. DRP cannot remand the case with the direction कि भाई ऐसा ऐसा कर लो और ऐसा करके कर दो और इंक्वायरी करके कर दो. नो. Who is supposed to implement that DRP direction? Legally, it is the AO, but generally we have seen it is first goes to TPO. He made the assessment, TP assessment, complete according to the direction, then the AO pass. But law में कहीं provision नहीं है कि DRP direction TPO के पास जाएगी. No. यहाँ पे dispute है if the AO pass the final assessment order before DRP direction. Before the Supreme Court case, it was the settled position that अगर टाइम से DRP की डायरेक्शन आ गई, फाइल कर दिया ऑब्जेक्शन, तो AO कैन नॉट पास द फाइनल ऑर्डर, एंड इफ यू हैव पास दैट इज नल. नाउ in this case, though the SLP is dismissed, still it becomes the law of the land. I have covered that also. What is the impact of dismissal of SLP with the speaking order? If time permit, I will cover that one also. But due to this one, but before that, it was settled provision. A legal order become illegal. See, if I have filed a objection before DRP, legally the AO are not competent to pass any order, and only the DRP can give the direction up to 9 months. If in those 9 months, AO passed a final order, which should be illegal, should be illegal, and the DRP direction are binding. This was the position before this one. But now, due to this decision, we have to see what will happen. Court have upheld a illegal order of the AO because he have no jurisdiction. Once the SSC have filed objection before the DRP, he have completely lost of his jurisdiction till he get the DRP direction. But this is the order. DRP direction, again I have said this, DRP direction को AO करता है practically, जबकि AO के पास कोई power नहीं है. Now it is 5:48. Sandeep ji, should we continue or should take some question? Because still we have many topic. As you permit. No voice. Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, you can, sir, if you want.
Continue.
If you want.
So should we continue to take some question? Because it is just 10 minutes now.
सर आप 10-12 मिनट ले सकते हैं, अभी क्वेश्चन है इसी तरफ से.
अच्छा कर सकते हैं. Now, okay. Now we cover this CIT, and the best, one of the most lacuna of this transfer pricing is that the CIT, PCIT and AO, they have a big role, but I have seen most of the time lack of knowledge, lack of the provision, they are not able to implement those legal provision. Now I discuss power and duties of CIT and PCI under the transfer pricing. Transfer pricing में CIT, PCIT की power क्या है, duties क्या है? Power and duty of CIT, PCIT number one, where reference is made to by AO to TPO. PCIT, CIT under section 263 cannot revise that order which is subject to DRP direction or is based on TPO. It was settled law before amendment made recently. However, after the amendment was made recently, power to revise under section 263 is given to CIT, principal CCIT. However, as discussed earlier, there are two concurrent jurisdiction, CIT TP and CIT jurisdictional. So, all the work done by the TPO have to be revised only by the CIT, principal CCIT or CIT or principal CCIT, which are relating to transfer pricing also. And the jurisdictional TP, CIT have no jurisdiction. So, CIT TP is authorized to initiate 263 where no inquiry was made by TPO, like non-disclosure of the transaction. Next, where reference is made to TPO, however, AO failed to notice certain unreported transaction. And TPO also failed to notice those transactions. Then under section 263, CIT jurisdictional can ask the AO to refer the case to TPO in respect to unreported transaction, or CIT TP can also ask the TPO to revise that order. Both the jurisdictional and TPO, TP, CIT have jurisdiction if AO failed to notice certain unreported transaction. Where the reference to TPO as per direction is not required, hence no reference is made to TPO. Even then, AO cannot determine ALP of international transaction or domestic transaction. Therefore, CIT jurisdictional cannot revise the AO order under section 263 due to specific guidelines from CBDT. Where the reference to TPO as per direction of CBDT is mandatory. However, no such reference is made by the AO. The CIT jurisdictional can ask AO to refer the case to TPO. तो अगर CBDT की डायरेक्शन से मैंडेटरी था रेफरेंस बट AO ने नहीं करा, तो जो जुरिडिक्शनल CIT है, he is duty bound to revise the assessment and ask the AO to refer the case to TPO. Where the reference to TPO as per guideline of CBDT is not required, the CIT jurisdictional cannot ask the AO to refer the case to TPO. अगर CBDT डायरेक्शन के हिसाब से रेफरेंस नहीं बनता था, 263 पॉसिबल नहीं है. Exercise of jurisdiction under section 263 to revise a final assessment order passed in ये अभी कुछ केस है जिसमें है. अब मेरे को वी हैव टू सी वेदर आफ्टर रिवीजन व्हाट विल बी द ट्रू इम्पैक्ट. Perhaps DRP order cannot be revised under 263. I am still of the opinion. Can 3%, but there are contra judgment also. If you see there are contra Karnataka High Court, he say it can be revised even DRP order, but the law is not settled. So CIT, principal CIT have a role, important role in the case where the transactions are unreported, undisclosed. Then AO have to take the approval of the CIT, give so-called notice, and then determine. These are very important role. If there is a mandatory reference not made, then he have to revise the order. But where the TPO adjustment is made, he cannot revise that order. It only the CIT TP. Draft assessment order. There are also multiple 100, 250, 500 cases. There are also many cases, many cases. Draft order, I have written, I have given 10 situations, but I am discussing more than 10 situations. Within a 5 or 10 minutes, I will discuss this situation. It's also very important. After that, I think not much will left. Then we can take the question. ड्राफ्ट ऑर्डर कब चाहिए? मैंने कहा था 2 सिचुएशन. एनी पर्सन टीपी वेरिएशन बना टीपीओ वेरिएशन करता है या फॉरेन कंपनी और नॉन रेजिडेंट है। 2024 से एक चेंज आया है कि ब्लॉक असेसमेंट में ये डीआरपी को रेफरेंस नहीं चाहिए, एलिजिबल नहीं होगा। तो दो केस टीपी एडजस्टमेंट मेड बाय द टीपीओ और नॉन रेजिडेंट फॉरेन कंपनी का कोई भी केस है, फर्स्ट इंस्टेंस में ड्राफ्ट ऑर्डर बनाना ही है। अगर नहीं बनाते हैं तो वो नल एंड वाइड हो जाएगा। आई डिस्कस फ्यू पॉइंट विद वेरी क्विकली। फाइनल असेसमेंट ऑर्डर इन प्लेस ऑफ ड्राफ्ट ऑर्डर अगेंस्ट द एलिजिबल। अगर एलिजिबल एसएससी है, सीधा फाइनल ऑर्डर बना दिया, ड्राफ्ट नहीं बनाया, तो सारी प्रोसीडिंग नल एंड वाइड है। फर्स्ट सिचुएशन। सेकंड सिचुएशन, where at the stage of passing draft order is officer assessed tax passed a final order and also issued a demand notice। कभी कभी क्या होता है कि एओ लिखता ड्राफ्ट है लेकिन असेसमेंट भी कर वो डिमांड नोटिस भी दे देता है, पेनल्टी का भी नोटिस दे देता है, तो उस केस में भी ड्राफ्ट ऑर्डर नल एंड वाइड हो जाएगा। अगेन ड्राफ्ट ऑर्डर विद नोटिस ऑफ डिमांड एंड पेनल्टी नल एंड वाइड है। ड्राफ्ट असेसमेंट ऑर्डर अगेंस्ट नॉन एलिजिबल टैक्स पेयर इनवैलिड है। नॉन एलिजिबल अगर टीपीओ ने कोई वेरिएशन नहीं किया, नॉन रेजिडेंट नहीं है और फॉरेन कंपनी नहीं है, उसमें ड्राफ्ट ऑर्डर बना दिया, तो नल एंड वाइड हो जाएगा। क्यों? टाइम बार हो जाएगा, टाइम एक्स्ट्रा लग गया उसका। फोर्थ सिचुएशन, फेलियर टू अडेयर टू मैंडेटरी प्रोसीजर प्रिस्क्राइब अंडर सेक्शन 144C इवन इन डिमांड केस। बहुत सारे केसों में जब आईटीटी आई कोर्ट ने रिमांड किया तो एओ ने ड्राफ्ट ऑर्डर नहीं बनाया, इवन दोज आर एलिजिबल इन द अप्रिहेंशन दैट इन द रिमांड प्रोसीडिंग दिस इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड। बट court have in multiple cases held that this procedure have to be followed even in case of remand cases. Similarly, whether the remand is wholly or partially, even then it is required. Whether it is whole remand, whether it is partial remand, in both the cases, the draft order have to be passed. Forwarding draft order at old address when correct address was available within the permitted time will be time barred। अगर सही एड्रेस पे से विद इन द लिमिटेशन नहीं दिया ड्राफ्ट ऑर्डर, इट विल बी नल एंड वाइड। फाइनल ऑर्डर पास इन वायलेशन ऑफ डायरेक्शन ऑफ डीआरपी विल बी वाइड एब इनिशो, बट इन दिस केस रेक्टिफिकेशन इज पॉसिबल। Whether mandatory requirement of forwarding a draft of proposed order of assessment could not be done away with by any waiver? Yes. Even the SSC have said he doesn't need any draft order. Still, अगर ड्राफ्ट ऑर्डर नहीं पास करते हैं तो नल एंड वाइड हो जाएगा। Where the TPO order is time barred, वो 60 days का, there are so many 100 of cases time barred because 60 days limit was not followed। तो टीपीओ का ऑर्डर वंस इट इज टाइम बार्ड देन इट्स बिकम इनएलिजिबल एसएससी। इनएलिजिबल बन गया तो उसके बाद असेसमेंट किया, कुछ भी किया, एनीथिंग डन आफ्टर दैट विल बी नल एंड वाइड। Where TP assessment is done by TAO. In some cases, assessment was done earlier by AO himself instead of TPO. Benchmarking and AL determination was done by AO. But in the case AO have done ALP even by mistake, then also the person is not eligible. And they have passed the, in our case also one assessing officer passed the draft assessment order. Once the draft assessment order is passed, simply it's become time barred because he have given the extra time. By that time, he is not supposed to pass the order. So if the AO have passed the draft order based on adjustment done by himself, then it's become time barred and null and void. Where draft assessment order under 144C was passed in the name of amalgamating company, which was a non-existent. Earlier also we had discussed, in their non-existent entity, any notice, any order is null and void. This certain SLP is pending, allowed same facts, one SLP is allowed, one is dismissed without reason. Some SLP on this, if draft order is passed with the penalty, the demand, some it is pending. So let's see what happened. But as on date, most of the case, this is the assessment order, a draft order is become time barred, hence held null and void. So these will not be possible. I think it's exact 6 o'clock. We have tried to cover, I think, 13 topic and more than 100 slide. I think I am too fast, but what to do? Can
Thank
we?
you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. I have one, two questions.
Yes,
Can I ask
yes.
whether TP adjustment toward guaranteed commission on guarantee given by Indian holding company, foreign subsidiary company, is justified where subsidiary company is incurring huge losses?
No, 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 no. If the subsidiary company is incurring losses, that is not the purpose that adjustment cannot be made. That
Okay.
two issues, whether it is incurring losses, whether incurring losses due to payment of fees, guarantee fees. No, that is totally different because two issues is totally different. If it have taken guarantee and he have to pay guarantee commission unless he justify the guarantee fees is not required because guarantee fees most of the work relating to guarantee provider are done by the Indian subsidiary. Therefore, the benefit of the guarantee is taken by the Indian subsidiary. Therefore, guarantee fee is not justified. Many times the work relating to guarantee, the person the guarantee is provided is done by the Indian entity, then they can say there is no separate requirement for payment of fees. But incurring losses is not, I think that is not a good idea to say that because we are incurring losses, guarantee fees is not paid. No, have to pay.
Okay, sir. I have one more question. Circular issued by CBDT on transfer pricing assessment once in 5 years. Block multi-year approach, under block multi-year approach, where same ALP method used consecutive year, the conditions remain same. Can we use?
No, you are talking, I think, block assessment here, 3 years, which is the recent provision.
Yes, sir.
But I am, I am not sure how that will be implemented because transfer pricing is so subjective. Say, I just give one example how that will now the rules and forms also are also prescribed for block assessment. But if see, I say if I have earned 15% margin in 1 year, in next year I am charging the same criteria, but the margin becomes 10%. The margin become 20%. How this block assessment will be practical? I'm unable to see the feasibility of that one. What are the condition? What are the there should be some condition that whether the margin, say if I paid royalty, if I say royalty 5%, one is justified 5%, the other year also justified 5%. Yes, that may be possible. But in every case, how it will be justified, there is no SOP. So till some SOP is given by the CBDT that block assessment have to be made in like this way. Because if it's most of the time you see it is TNMM is applied and margin is seen, if margin vary, then how that will be applicable? That is slightly controversial for me. I have not judged this one. I have not seen the practical utility of that block assessment scheme. Maybe, but according to me, some SOP is required for some guidance from the CBDT is required. What will be the criteria of that scheme?
Okay, sir. Thank you. I have only two questions. These are completed. As we come to conclusion of today's webinar, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to you, sir, and Satish Kumar Gupta ji, Vishnu Kumar Agarwal ji, and special thank you to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Most welcome.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.